I was sitting on the couch, reading a book, enjoying my coffee. It was a peaceful day. And then I hear my husband start to talk about politics. And I went to this frustrated, tense, angry feeling, which is not normal for me. How did I go from being calm one moment to being angry with my husband of 16 years? We have 2 children. I know him, I love him, I trust him. What was behind this anger? Because I've experienced it other times. When you're on social media and someone says something and you're like, oh my gosh, but you don't respond. But to do that with my husband was really foreign. Now I know we're told never to talk about politics. We're told to be quiet, keep it to yourself, especially now. And as a personal brand strategist, I usually tell my clients the same thing. But we are not in an environment anymore where that's possible, because the only thing that does is divide us further and further apart. We have to be able to have conversations. And so I wanted to figure out, what was it with me that made that situation tense? Because my husband didn't do anything. It was my reaction. And I realized as I practiced this with other people since that discussion, that I would come into a conversation with my viewpoint and come in to listen. I was really waiting to hear what they said so I can respond with my facts and knowledge. And it was a tug of war. Someone had to win. Someone had to lose. That is the first thing that I noticed, the first flaw. The second thing was this idea of going from calm to nuclear. Why is that? Why do we have this reaction? And Daniel Kahneman talks about this in Thinking Fast and Slow, about how we have a Neanderthal brain. Unfortunately, although that brain worked for us back then, there's a tiger, there's someone approaching, I'm nervous, defend, fight, or flight. That does not serve us well now. The system 1 thinking, as he calls it, where you're automatically responding, doesn't help us when we're trying to have a deep conversation, where we do need to take some energy and do what he calls system 2 thinking. Deep thoughts, discuss with each other, have ideas. But our reflexes are so fast. It's so hard to do that. But knowing that this happens, I think can help. Because in that moment when I was talking with my husband, I felt myself change, almost like Jekyll and Hyde. So in that moment when you're talking with someone, recognize that it's your Neanderthal brain and it's working against you. How do you press pause? The other thing that happens is that we're not structured the way we used to be. It used to be we'd be with a tribe, and we saw them every day, and we knew them every day, and we built relationships. Now our tribe is anyone in the world, because we see them on Facebook, we see them on Twitter, we see them out at the mall. But we do still have tribes. They just look pretty different. They're called red, or blue, or LGBTQ, or something else. And the reality is, if our tribe stays so separate that we continue to hate because we can't have a conversation, no good will come of that. You can't hate someone close up. Brene Brown said that, and I thought about, well, what does that look like for me? How do I have that conversation? Do I start with strangers? No, because I don't know them and they don't know me and I don't have any context. I know I need to get there at some point. Do I go talk to my business people? Because we know each other. We like each other. I think it might be okay. For me, what I found is that I needed to start with my friends and family, specifically with people I knew had a different perspective, because I wanted to sit down and listen, not come prepared with my arguments. So what does that mean? Well, when we talk about difficult conversations, One of the things we don't talk about are ground rules. When I invite someone to sit down and talk, I want to let them know a few things. I want to let them know that I am not here to change your mind. Literally, say it out loud. I am not here to change your mind. I am here simply to listen. That I care about you as a person. When you hear someone say, get over it, just move past, that is very dehumanizing. We're telling the other person that you don't matter enough for me to listen. I care about you as a person. I want to remain respectful. One thing I don't tolerate is ugly or mean. If you're going to verbally be ugly or be mean, we're done. So how do we have a conversation respectfully? But we both have to agree to that. Our relationship matters. If I'm sitting down with someone close to me, it's because they're close and I value the relationship. I want to tell them that because I want the relationship to be here after our discussion. And at any point, if you feel like we need to press pause instead of the nuclear button, press pause. We'll come back to this conversation. But you matter so much to me that I wanted to set these ground rules. Now, when we do this and we set ground rules, we're disrupting that Neanderthal brain. We're disrupting that idea that they want to talk about politics. I'm going to be defensive. I'm going to go into fight or flight and run away. We have to disrupt it. So what's next? So next, we actually have to hear the person. I know that's hard because sometimes people share ideas or concepts and you're like, okay, that was a little far out there. You still have to keep it together. You still have to just be present and let them share a couple of things. For politics, why do they care about the issue? What's happened in their past that made it important? What's their experience with the issue? Ask questions. If you're worried you're going to say something that you're going to regret later, go to inquiry and just ask more questions. Tell me more. Why did you feel that way? So go to the inquiry, hear the person, and then really try to understand. Have empathy. Put yourself in their shoes. If you experienced racism like they did, or if you experienced economic challenges because you lost your job, hear them. Validate that they are human. You have to understand. And then circle back and figure out, what did we both learn? How do we want to go forward together? Because if we are not building bridges between these groups, these tribes, we will surely all fail together. When I think about what people have told me is stressful family friend conversations, Thanksgiving always comes up. I'm not going to talk about politics at Thanksgiving. Nobody wants to hear about that. That's okay if you don't. I would encourage you, though, I would invite you to think about, what would that conversation look like? How could you just be mentally prepared to hear, to understand, to go forward? Maybe it's coffee. Maybe it's one-on-one with a person. But start somewhere. This month, I'm actually starting discourse dinners. And I'm going to bring together small groups of my friends and family, and we're going to talk. Most importantly, I'm going to listen and just try to hear where people are coming from. It might mean we get nerdy and get out our computers and start researching. I don't know. But I know if we're not talking, we're not moving forward. My thought for you is that if you can do this, then you can really be yourself. You can allow others to be themselves. You can hear. You can understand. You can go forward, or what I like to call hug. Hug people. Hear them. Understand them. Go forward together. Build bridges. True belonging doesn't require that you change who you are. It requires you to be who you are. Thank you.